Studies have shown that too much stress leads to headaches, higher blood pressure, an upset stomach, memory loss, disrupted sleep, and increased risk for heart attacks. Stress does a number on your mind and body, draining your immune system and messing with your ability to concentrate. Having tense, sore muscles, shallow breath, increased heart rate, these are all signs that you might be too stressed out.
It's essential to know how our brain responds to the stimuli which trigger an anxiety response, so that you are equipped to deal appropriately with anxiety. Let me highlight the key areas of your brain that are involved, and then I will explain what happens inside the brain. The thalamus is the central hub for sights and sounds. The thalamus breaks down incoming visual cues by size, shape, and colour, and auditory cues by volume and dissonance, and then signals the cortex. The cortex then gives raw sights and sounds meaning, enabling you to be conscious of what you are seeing and hearing. And I'll mention here that the prefrontal cortex is vital to turning off the anxiety response once the threat has passed. The amygdala is the emotional core of the brain, whose primary role is to trigger the fear response. Information passing through the amygdala is associated with an emotional significance. The bed nucleus of the stria terminals is particularly interesting when we discuss anxiety. While the amygdala sets off an immediate burst of fear, the BRST perpetuates the fear response, causing longer-term unease typical of anxiety. The locus coeruleus receives signals from the amygdala and initiates the classic anxiety response: rapid heartbeat, increased blood pressure, sweating, and pupil dilation. The hippocampus is your memory center, storing raw information from the senses, along with emotional baggage attached to the data by the amygdala. Now we know these key parts, what happens when we are anxious, stressed, or fearful? Anxiety, stress, and of course fear are triggered primarily through your senses. Sight and sound are first processed by the thalamus, filtering incoming cues and sent directly to the amygdala or to the cortex. Smell and touch go directly to the amygdala, bypassing the thalamus altogether. This is why smells often evoke very powerful memories or feelings. Any cues from your incoming senses that are associated with a threat in the amygdala, whether that threat is real or not, current or not, are immediately processed to trigger the fear response. This is the expressway. It happens before you consciously feel the fear. The hypothalamus and pituitary gland cause the adrenal glands to pump out high levels of the stress hormone cortisol. Too much cortisol short-circuits the cells of the hippocampus, making it difficult to organize the memory of a trauma or a stressful experience. Memories lose context and become fragmented. The body's sympathetic nervous system shifts into overdrive, causing the heart to beat faster, blood pressure to rise, and lungs to hyperventilate. Perspiration increases and the skin's nerve endings tingle, causing goosebumps. Your senses become hyper-alert, freezing you momentarily as you drink in every detail. Adrenaline floods to the muscles, preparing you to fight or run away. The brain shifts focus from digestion to focus on the potential dangers, sometimes causing evacuation of the digestive tract through urination, defecation, or vomiting. Heck, if you're about to be eaten as someone else's dinner, why bother digesting your own? Only after the fear response has been activated does the conscious mind kick in. Some sensory information takes a more thoughtful route from the thalamus to the cortex. The cortex decides whether the sensory information warrants a fear response. If the fear is a genuine threat in space and time, the cortex signals the amygdala to continue being on alert. Fear is a good, useful response essential to survival. However, anxiety is a fear of something that cannot be located in space and time. Most often, it is that indefinable something triggered initially by something real that you sense, but that in itself is not threatening, but it is associated with a fearful memory. And the bed nucleus of the stria terminals perpetuate that fear response. Anxiety is a real fear response for the individual feeling anxious, and anxiety can be debilitating for the sufferer. There are two main types of stress: eustress and distress. Eustress is a positive stress that we experience that enhances performance. Some call this being in the flow. When we have eustress, we feel energized, focused, and much of what we do seems effortless. Insufficient stress, and we may be bored, lack energy and focus, and everything seems effortful. Distress is a negative type of stress, often caused by our perception of the external environment that overwhelms us, causing fatigue, exhaustion, ill health, and even burnout. It's critical to understand that something that you feel as being eustress could easily be distressful to others. For example, you may be energized and focused by the idea of doing a bungee jump. I, on the other hand, would be feeling acute distress. But I get energized by the stress of being in front of thousands of people about to perform. This might cause you acute distress. When we have no stress, we are in a period of calm. We may even be bored. For some people, being in this state of calm is a goal and lifelong endeavour. For others, the thought of doing very little or even nothing is, in itself, stressful. So how do you know that you're stressed? Well, it doesn't look the same because people often respond to stress in three distinct ways. There are those who have their foot on the accelerator. They're very keyed up, agitated, overly emotional, and unable to sit still. There are those who have their foot on the brake. They shut down, space out, and show little energy or emotion. And there are those who have their foot on both. Under pressure, they freeze and cannot do anything. A state of paralysis seems to take over their body, but underneath the skin, they're highly agitated. There are certain signs that you may be stressed. Cognitively, you might have memory problems, unable to concentrate, exercise poor judgment, seeing only the negative side of things, having anxious or racing thoughts, and constant worrying. Emotional signs: moodiness, irritability or short temper, agitation, unable to relax, feeling overwhelmed, a sense of loneliness and isolation, depression or general unhappiness. There are physical signs: aches and pains, diarrhea, constipation, nausea, dizziness, chest pain, rapid heartbeat, a loss of sex drive, frequently getting colds or flu. And behavioural signs: eating much more or less than usual, sleeping much longer or much less than normal, isolating yourself from other people, procrastinating or neglecting responsibilities, using alcohol, cigarettes or drugs to relax, and nervous habits such as nail biting and pacing. But remember, other psychological or medical conditions could cause any or all of the signs. Some people tolerate stress more easily than others, and there are some things that influence your ability to tolerate. Your support network. Supportive friends and family can be a wonderful buffer against life stresses. The more isolated and lonely you are, the more vulnerable you may be to stress. Your sense of control. If you believe that you're able to influence events and persevere through challenges, you'll have a greater confidence in yourself and your ability to overcome stress. But when you feel as though you have little or no control, you may be more vulnerable. Your attitude. Stress-resistant people have a positive attitude on life. They embrace challenges and accept that change happens, and often believe in a higher power. A predominantly negative outlook on life adds to the feeling of stress and your inability to do anything about it. Your emotional control, knowing how to calm or soothe yourself when you're feeling sad, angry or fearful, will enable you to bounce back from adversity. Lacking that emotional control will make you extremely vulnerable to stress. And knowledge, factual information about how long a stressful situation will last, can enable you to tolerate the stress more easily, knowing that this too shall pass. When we have little or no knowledge about the situation, we don't know how long we will have to keep this up, and thus we may give in too soon. So what causes stress? Well, if you perceive something to be stressful, it is for you. It might not be perceived as stressful by someone else. I remember all too well being dismissed by my father when I was young and complaining that I couldn't cope with something, only to be told that it's good for you. Apparently, I would thank him one day for it. Did his wisdom help me? Not at all. In fact, I got to the point where I genuinely thought that there was something seriously wrong with me, and some may argue that there still is. The point is, if it feels stressful for you, it is stressful for you. Some causes of stress are easy to spot because they're external. Major life changes, work, relationship problems, financial difficulties, being too busy, children, family. But not all stress is caused by external factors. It can also be self-generated. An inability to accept uncertainty, pessimism, unrealistic expectations, perfectionism, lack of assertiveness, and negative self-talk. If the cause is external, you may be able to do nothing about it, but you can choose how you deal with it.
Here are a few tips that will help you feel calmer inside when your outside life gets too hectic. 1. Stay in and recuperate. Find a simple routine task to complete at home, like doing the dishes or vacuuming. Studies show that completing a repetitive task allows your brain to pare down and focus. The perfect cure for a worried, scattered mind. After you finish cleaning your house, clean yourself. Yes, we wrote that. Clean yourself because a warm bath or hot shower will boost your mood. Studies have shown that the sensation of warm water triggers responses in the body and brain similar to those triggered by emotional warmth. If you find stress keeping you up all night, try progressive muscle relaxation just before bed. That is a fancy way to describe clenching up every muscle in your body for a few seconds and then letting go. Lie on your back and start with your forehead, continuing through your tummy, down through your thighs, and finally your little toes. Repeat as needed until every muscle is completely relaxed. 2. Get out for good vibes. The spiritual mantras used in yoga and meditation help focus the mind and stave off feelings of anxiety. Yoga not for you? That's okay. Go outside for a good dose of natural light and a little jog. Exercise lessens anxiety and helps maintain feelings of calm, even in the face of distressing events. Get in a good laugh, because laughter injects a surge of endorphins into the body, which creates feelings of happiness and euphoria, which is why you like them so much. 3. Here's the best one. Treat yourself to something yummy. Like dark chocolate. Certain chemicals in chocolate help relax the blood vessels, which reduces blood pressure. You can also appeal to your sense of smell for relaxation. The aromas of spearmint and lavender have proven de-stressing effects. So go buy a lavender-scented candle or pick up some spearmint tea. Take a moment to yourself and breathe in the goodness.